This is one of those stories that truly makes the blood boil. So last week, a streamer downloaded a game from Steam. They were fulfilling a donation request. The streamer was raising money for cancer treatment, so every bit helped. But then the malware hit. Malware was embedded in that Steam game's installation, and it stole all the money. And by all the money, I mean 32 grand USD, which for the person involved was beyond devastating. But here's what's truly chilling. If malware can come from a game downloaded from Steam, the largest PC gaming platform, what the hell does that mean for everyone who uses it? Because as it turns out, Steam has a malware problem. Lately I've made a change, and that's going more analog. Basically, writing with my hand helps me think clearer, and that's where today's sponsor comes in. Novium and their hover pen. It is a precision-engineered pen that literally hovers at a 23.5-degree angle on its magnetic base. It's made of aerospace-grade aluminium, perfect weight distribution, and it just turns something mundane into something you actually want to use. And I think what I love is that it's functional art, because when I'm not writing with it, it just sits there, defying gravity, on my desk. It's something people notice when they see it. Won the Time Award for Best Invention. It's just neat. But when you pick it up, it's also a proper pen, and it takes standard Schmidt refills, it writes beautifully, and they've got different colors. I went space black to match my setup, and you can even go for the interstellar version, which has an authentic meteorite embedded in the tip, which is older than the Earth itself. Pretty damn cool. And then there's the Hover Pen Future, which has got interchangeable fountain and rollerball tips, and these make for an exceptional gift. They come beautifully packaged. They're just memorable. And if you head to noviumdesign.shop/Bellular News and use code Bellular News, you'll get 15% off any hover pen for the next 48 hours. And after that 48 hours, it's 10% off. And that's with free shipping to most countries as well. Steam is so dominant that fundamentally, Steam is PC gaming by now. And as a store, it's allowed devs like Team Cherry to distribute their game to millions. So much more efficient than the older models of the past. It's codified whole new business models like early and advanced access. And as a platform, it's got community and support systems that let people trust that Valve are looking out for their interests. Here's how it works. Devs and players operate within Valve systems in good faith, and in return everyone gets a lovely functioning platform for PC gaming. But now that's kind of all under threat. I mean, we've talked about pressure from regulators, from advocacy groups, all the problems with payment processors, but today's story is a different threat. So here's the danger. If all those other stories, plus this malware issue, cause audiences to lose trust in their safety, then the platform kinda crumbles. And this past year has shown that Valve systems can be manipulated against Valve and against Valve's users. Basically, Steam has become a new vector for malware attacks. Here's what went down. Streamer Rastaland.tv lost 32,000 USD. This happened live because they were streaming to raise donations for their cancer treatment. Now, someone offered them money to play a game called Block Blasters in Steam. And this was a game on Steam, right? This wasn't some weird download from a sketchy link. It was a game downloaded from Steam. It was installed, and then live on stream, they watched their crypto wallet get completely drained. Their medical funds gone. What followed next? Well, other crypto platform creators replenished his funds. So you know what? Good. Thumbs up to them. That's a goddamn nice thing to do. Then, cybersecurity activists like VX Underground launched a big multi-day campaign. They flagged the game in Steam, they identified the malware creators, and, ladies and gentlemen, they got them. But here's what they also found. They found that Rastaland was just one of 405 victims hit by this malware. That's a lot of people, a lot of potential crypto wallets being drained, and this is malware confirmed as coming from a game downloaded in Steam. And it all happened from the 21st of September onwards. But here's the thing, Block Blasters had been on Steam since July. Now the good news is the store page has been pulled, but according to cyber defense sites like GData, there was evidence of problems since a patch that was shipped on August 30th. And the thing is, Block Blasters seemed like a real game. Not a great game by all accounts, but certainly a game that you could buy and play. And some people had bought this game before the patch. SteamDB estimates around 6,000. So here's what ended up happening, right? Steam was hosting a game that had been patched, with that patch containing the malware. And that means that anyone who purchased the game before that point, and installed the update, which often will be automatic, well, those people could have been affected. Now, what you'd expect is for us to say, man, what a terrible problem, what a good cautionary tale, let's ensure this never happens again and that it's not a repeat issue. Except that Block Blasters is the 4th game on Steam that's been a vector for malware in this year alone. Let me know if you've played any of these 3 hot games: Pirate Fi, Sniper Phantom's Resolution, and Chemia. Yeah, you probably don't recognize those games, I certainly don't, but each of them used Steam in 2025 to distribute malware to users. And according to those who played it, Pirate Fi was nothing more than a survival game asset pack with some marketing art attached. A week after its February launch, Valve warned players that anyone who'd played the game during a specific window may have been exposed to malware that was added during a patch. Now, the good news is this was a very small population. Maybe 1,000 people bought the game total, according to SteamDB's estimates. But next in March came Sniper Phantom's Resolution. Redditors spotted something a little bit suspicious. The Steam page for this very generic FPS, first created in December 2024, had a link to an outside demo on GitHub. Users found that it contained an info stealer. Now, Steam itself never hosted the malware in this case, but Steam's reach was used to trick people into going off-platform for the demo, where they would then face more risk. And to be honest, it's a pretty smart way of doing things. People will want to check out a demo before they buy the game, so just link them to a malware demo. But then came Chemia. It launched on Steam in April 2024, and it seemed like just any other survival crafting game. There sure are many. Now, in July, cybersecurity firm ProDraft made an announcement that they had found malware embedded directly into the game's executable. Now, in all 3 cases, Valve pulled the store pages. When games launched, Valve directly reached out to potentially impacted users with warnings, and that stuff is good. But how is this happening? I mean, malware is explicitly against Steam's rules. There's no evidence that Valve didn't review these games, or that they should have caught the malware during the initial review, because we know that Valve reviews games on submission. No, each store page was created months before going live, and instead, all these problems have occurred with dev-controlled updates after launch. And this is where it could actually sort of hurt all of us. Because unlike with, say, console updates, where those need to be certified, Steam just lets developers update freely with minimal restrictions, and usually it's an amazing thing. Say you have a game that comes out simultaneously on Steam and a Nintendo Switch, and let's just assume this would be a game from a self-published indie. You'll probably notice the Steam build can just be updated and updated and updated every day. But for the Switch build, it will almost certainly take longer. That's simply because Nintendo has got way more process that has to be gone through. And it's like that with the other platforms as well. And this is sad because it means a real strength of Steam, both in community building and just for us as players where we can get updates quickly, that is being harnessed back against Valve. Because I think we all know that if Valve had to do a review of every game update, the whole system would crash, and it obviously wouldn't be feasible. And to get some texture in this, IGN captured this whole thing in a bit of a wider piece they were doing about distribution platforms. So they interviewed a developer about Valve's very permissive attitude, and here's the quote from their reporting. Valve, meanwhile, does a review of the store page before it's initially set live, but one person told me that after that, they never look at the page again. Quote, you can quite literally submit the store page as one game, get Valve approval, and then change everything and then put it live. So that's obviously an attack vector. And ultimately, Valve relies on store algorithms to limit bad games to small audiences. They then just leave it to audience outreach to flag anything to their attention if it's nastier. But in each case, that's essentially what's happened. And when Valve were made aware, they responded quickly, and they wiped each game from the store. But here's where the problem is. These malware groups have used Steam's big strength against it. They have manipulated Valve's hands-off systems, and the only real way to fix that would be a compromise. And Valve, as we know, do not compromise unless they are forced to. Or, should I say, until they're scared into making a change. You see, Valve recently told adult game developers that they can no longer use early access, because it could turn out that the game has an appropriate amount of titty, and then, oh dear, with an update, something altogether more dastardly could slip in. And for Valve, that could cause issues. Payment processor related issues, like the ones we've been covering. Now, what's also interesting is adult games can't add content updates anymore. Yes, that's insane, but they can't add content updates to their games anymore. The reason why is obvious. It's to ensure that these games are not at risk from payment processor reprisals. And that's kind of wild for this whole segment of devs. One of them, called Crimson Delight Games, said that if they added any new adult content via patches, they would be in breach of the new rules, and that instead, new content must come via DLC. What's the difference? Well, the difference is the DLC gets a new store page in Steam, and that means a new review process, and that means that Valve can be confident that nothing breaks the rules. Just like with malware. So, Valve restricted these developers in order to protect their system from potentially risky content updates. Now, for adult games, that's one thing, but for malware, it's a bit tougher. Because in theory, it could apply to any update. Consider this. Out of the 13,934 games launched on Steam in 2024, only 3 got updated with malware. It's a hell of a needle in a haystack problem. And for the most part, you probably, literally, probably have nothing to worry about here. Trusted publishers, companies, or developers that you recognize are almost certainly not a threat. Unless, say, they themselves end up being breached. And it might only take one bad story of that happening to, have a whole domino image macro play out and bad things happen. But even if Steam created a whitelist or an approved creator system, that wouldn't impact the smallest games. Wouldn't impact the little indies. And those, of course, are the games that have caused these problems. The only way to prevent those would be to scan every patch implemented on Steam. And if they had to do that, it would fundamentally change how the platform works. What sucks for Valve is there's no easy solution here. If they want to certify patches, they need to completely rethink how Steam works and also rethink how their business works. Because if they were doing that, well, at least they'd be having to do a lot more work for their 30% cut. But if they continue allowing free updates, malware attacks do put a tiny number of users at risk. It's a well-known attack vector now, one that happened 4 times within a year. This problem's not going to be going away because Steam is worth billions. It's installed in millions of computers, maybe even billions of computers. It is ubiquitous, and anything that large is a target. One that Valve needs to defend, because if they don't, these attacks will become more frequent. That will mean more risk for users, it will mean more headaches for Valve, but obviously, the most watertight solutions to this problem would kind of ruin Steam. They would make Steam not be the thing that we love, which basically means it sucks for absolutely everyone involved, and the people who are involved in malware are actual true goddamn villains. So it's a bit of a tightrope walk for Valve. They need to make sure the situation doesn't break what makes Steam great in the first place, but they somehow need to make this problem not happen anymore, because if it continues to happen, the problem for Valve will only grow greater. And they don't want that to happen in a world where they've already had to clamp down on adult games, where they've already got payment processor problems, where they've had to do things like pull PayPal from loads of regions, and when the likes of the UK's Online Safety Act and many similar bits of legislation in many other countries and territories are also bearing down on them. Oh boy, yeah. If Steam has a firefighting department, I am sure that they are hiring. And if you'd like to find out about the latest in the Online Safety Act and how it applies to Steam, watch this video next.